Alright, so today we're talking all about watering. Now, watering is something that can definitely feel really overwhelming when you're a new plant parent. There are definitely some things that I wish I would have known when I got my first plants. So I'm going to give you some tips to make watering more enjoyable for you and better for your plants. The first tip that I have for you is to pair your watering with listening to an audiobook. I'm currently listening to 13 Stories by Jonathan Sims via Chirp, who is today's video sponsor. Chirp offers a wide variety of discounted audiobooks with no membership fees. You only pay for the books you choose, which are often discounted up to 95%. Listening to audiobooks makes me feel so productive and my watering time just flies right by. 13 Stories is a bit of a spooky listen, which you guys know I love. It's really good, and I also scored it for only $4.99. And I've also been listening to The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. That is one of my all-time favorite books, and I've never listened to it, so it's been really nice to kind of take it in that way too. Click on the link below and use my code WILDFERN5 for $5 off your first audiobook with Chirp. This means you can basically get one for free. My second tip is not to follow a watering schedule. Instead, you need to observe for signs that you need to water. So you can look for signs of thirst in your plant. A lot of plants will droop their leaves or curl their leaves, or something more succulent will get soft and squishy leaves. In most plants, there will be a physical sign that they're thirsty. Other things that you can be aware of though is the weight of the pot. I know my plants well enough by now to tell whether they need water just by picking up the pot. If it's light, then I know it's dry. If it's heavy, then I know it's still retaining quite a bit of water and it's not going to be thirsty yet. I tend not to really rely on things like moisture meters. I do use them sometimes, but most of the time I find myself to just be the most accurate source of knowing whether to water or not. You can also often tell by, obviously touching the soil, but even just visually looking at it. When it's really dry, it will often pull away from the sides of the pot. Also, just considering the type of pot that your plant is in. If it's in plastic or ceramic, then you're gonna be able to go longer between waterings, but if it's in something like terracotta, this is gonna wick the moisture out and you're gonna be watering more often. Okay, the next point that I'm going to talk to is to water thoroughly. You want to water your plant all the way through until you see water coming out the bottom. Now, this is a really important one. I can't stress this enough. And a lot of people have the misconception that overwatering is the amount of water you're giving your plant, but it's actually the frequency of your waterings. So if you're giving your plant a small amount of water every day, you're gonna be at higher risk for things like root rot than giving your plant a thorough watering once a week. So make sure your pots all have drainage holes at the bottom and make sure you can see that water flowing right through, thoroughly saturating the soil. I usually water all of my plants a couple times through just to make sure that the soil has really had a chance to absorb all of the moisture. Especially for things like cactus and succulents where the soil gets really compacted, or if you have a really dried out plant, then you definitely want to water it just a couple times through. The fourth tip that I have is to make sure you're not leaving your plants in standing water. If you're watering them on their drainage trays, make sure that you get rid of the excess water after. For me, the easiest way to water is to take all of my plants to the sink. I just find that it's really efficient. That cuts down on a lot of the mess, and I'm able to just make sure that they've drained all the way through before I take them back to their spots. You can do whatever works for you, but plants usually hate having wet feet or sitting in water, so just make sure you get it out of the tray somehow. I know some people use turkey basters to suck up some of the excess water from the drainage tray, or like big syringes. Anything that can grab water out will work, but yeah, like I said, for me, it's just easiest to bring my plants to the sink. And my last tip for you is to inspect your plants while you're watering them. This is another reason that I like to take my plants over to the sink, because it gives me a better opportunity to fully examine the plant, if you will. I like to check the undersides of the leaves, make sure there's no signs of anything like spider mites. Make sure there's no damage like burns or any type of fungus or bacteria. I just like to make sure it is looking all healthy, and I do like to rinse off the leaves as well. This helps to keep the dust off, and I think it helps prevent pests as well. There isn't always enough time in the day to go around and inspect all of your plants, especially when you have a lot like I do. So watering is prime time for me to get a closer look at my plants. Alright guys, that is going to be it. I hope that you found this video helpful, especially if you're a beginner. Let me know your thoughts down below, and also feel free to leave any other watering hacks that you have. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out Chirp audiobooks. I will leave the link in the description, and I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye!